Hello, today we are doing Unit 4A, Mission 3A. I can solve proportions. So when we are solving our proportions today, we are going to be using what's called a scale. A scale is the dimensions of a model are in proportion to the actual dimensions of the object. We call them proportional. So for example, if 1 inch on a map is really 50 inches in real life, that's a scale. Like 1 inch represents 50 miles. That's something we're going to look more at tomorrow. Today we're going to be looking at like real life objects. So for example, here's one with a carpenter ant. A museum of natural history is making a scale model of a carpenter ant. The scale used is 12.5 centimeters to 1 millimeter. If the actual length of the ant is 6.4 millimeters, what is the length of the model? So ants are really tiny, so they're making a bigger model so that you can see it in a museum. So they're telling us, here is our scale. They wrote it using a colon. This is a ratio. Really, a scale is a ratio of one part to another part. We learned 3 ways to write a ratio: as a fraction, using the word to, or using a colon. So when we set up a proportion, we write a ratio equal to another ratio. So I'm going to write this as a fraction, 12.5 over 1. So this 12.5 are centimeters. This is the actual model. And our millimeters represents the actual carpenter ant. So this would be the actual ant in real life. 1 millimeter would represent 12.5 centimeters in the model. That's bigger. So this is the actual, and this is the model. It's huge. So when we set up our proportion, they want to know if the actual length is 6.4 millimeters. Again, millimeters are on the bottom, 6.4. They want to know how big would that be in real life. How big are we supposed to make this model of the ant? So we're going to cross multiply to solve. 1 times x is just 1x. Set it equal to the other cross, 12.5 multiplied by 6.4. So we have 1x equal to, and then we're just going to multiply those two numbers. Get my calculator here, 12.5 times 6.4 gives me 80. If we have multiply by 1 here, we can divide by 1, but 80 divided by 1 is still 80. So 80 what? We were on the top here, so we're talking about centimeters. So in real life, the model of this ant is going to be 80 centimeters. Let's take a look at another example. It says, June is building a dollhouse that is a replica of her real house. She is using a scale of 1 to 35. So if they don't give you units, assume they're the same. They're going to be talking about feet here. So 1 foot of the model is in relation to 35 feet in real life. If her house is 82 feet long, how long will her dollhouse be? So first I'm going to write my scale as a fraction, 1 to 35. This would be the model, and then 35 is the actual house. I know the model is a smaller number because of a house. Houses are huge. So if I'm going to make a model of it, it's going to have to be smaller so I can look at it in my hand or something. So when we set up our proportion, if her house is 82 feet long, this is her actual house, they want to know how big will the dollhouse be, the model. So we know the actual house on the bottom is 82 feet long. We need to figure out x by cross multiplying. 35 times x is 35x. Set it equal to 1 times 82 is still 82. So we are going to divide. The opposite of multiply is divide. Divide by 35. X equals, so 82 divided by 35. It's going to give me a really weird decimal. I'm going to just round it to 1 decimal point, 2.3, and we were talking about feet. So her dollhouse, should be 2.3 feet wide or long. Now they want us to use the same scale and answer another question. It says, if her house is 14 feet tall, well, how tall should the dollhouse be? So we know how long it should be. We want to know the height as well. We're using the same scale because it's the same dollhouse. So this is the model or the dollhouse to the actual house. So we know the actual house is 14 feet tall. We want to know how tall will the dollhouse be. That's the part we're missing. So cross multiply, 35 times x is 35x. 1 multiplied by 14 is still just 14. The opposite of multiply is divide. Divide. So 14 divided by 35 gives me 0.4. So her house in her dollhouse should be 0.4 feet tall. Because they want to know the height. How tall is it? So a little bit less than half a foot. All right, let's look at 2 more problems on the back side. Here is the White House. There is a scale model of the White House in Tobu World Square in Japan. So that information is just like background information for us. It doesn't tell us the scale, it just tells us that we're going to use the scale model of a White House. So the scale used in the model is 1 to 25. The height of the main building of the White House is 85 feet. Find the height on the model. So I'm going to write my ratio that I have right away as a fraction, 1 to 25. They're talking about feet, so we can assume they're both in feet. So this is the model, and then the actual White House. So they told us the height of the main building is 85 feet. That's in real life. So actually it is 85 feet tall. They want to know the height of the model. And we put the model on the top, so that's why we're finding x on the top. So let's cross multiply. 25 times x is 25x. 1 times 85 is 85. Set them equal to each other. And the opposite of multiply is divide. We're dividing by 25. So 85 divided by 25. I'm going to plug that in my calculator. We get 3.4. So what did I just find? It said find the height, which should say of the model. The height is 3.4. We're talking about feet, so 3.4 feet tall. That's the height of the White House model. Last question is talking about a shark. A model of a shark uses a scale of 2 inches to 7.5 feet. So 2 inches of the model is 7.5 feet in real life. So find the actual length if the shark, I think you're supposed to say of the shark. Find the actual length of the shark if the model is 5.25 inches. So I'm going to write this ratio here as a fraction. 2 inches to 7.5 feet. This is the model of the shark to the actual shark. So they told us that the model is 5.25 inches, so that goes on the top. We need to find the actual length of the shark. So it's going to cross multiply. 7.5 multiplied by 5.25, and then 2 times x is just 2x. So 7.5 times 5.25 is 39.375. Gives me a nice answer. Well, not super nice, 3 decimals, but it doesn't go on. And then last, we just divide by 2. When I divide by 2, I get x equal to 19.6875. So if I were to round this to the nearest tenth, it would be about 19.7, we're talking about feet, feet long. So our shark in real life would be about 19.7, almost 20 feet long. All right. So this whole day was spent with cross multiplying with word problems here. So using our scale, the scale that whatever scale they give you, they're going to ask you two questions. One for 33 feet and one for 24 feet. So you have to solve two different ratios using the scale that's given to you. Each one, there's this hotel and this tower, you're going to both use this scale to solve. If you have questions about that,